Chapter 5. Claus is Dead. That's a good title. It says what it has to say. It's kind of shocking. It's existential. Death is always existential. It gets you curious about what happened and who this Claus is. Claus himself would say it's a good title. What do you think, Claus? Tell me. Is it a good title? Yeah, you can't answer because you're dead. I found out yesterday his ex-wife called and said I'd been trying to get a hold of him. I know he was in the hospital, in the corona intensive station, I guess he called it. I got one SMS, one text message from him. I was trying to call him and he messaged back that I shouldn't call and that he was in the hospital. He said, a feast of irony. What did he say? He said, a feast of irony and something else. He said, a feast of irony and fate. What he meant, of course, is that, he didn't take corona seriously. He was one of these guys, he thought, it's just a flu. It's just an excuse to, for the state to reduce our civil rights. State has no right to, tell me I have to wear a mask. State has no right to tell me to stay at home. I'm not going to do that. And he didn't. He complied to a certain extent. He wasn't one of those nutcases who, were going around protesting, trying to, a couple of months ago, they even tried to storm the Parliament building here. Real serious idiots. I just can't imagine. And we had these discussions, he said, well, these doctors don't know anything. I know more than the doctors do. I said, Claus, you know nothing about medicine. How could you even think that you know? How could you judge a doctor if you know nothing about medicine? If you get onto a plane, you don't go into the cockpit and say, I can fly better than you guys. How would you get that idea? And he says, well, I read the newspapers, and the doctors read the newspapers too. But they also, in addition to reading the newspapers, they go to school and study medicine, and they heal people all the time. But there was just this thing in him, this need to feel superior, and that was one of the things all through his life. He needed to feel superior, and it was it's a compensation for not being superior. It's a compensation for being depressed and disappointed and frustrated all your life. I do it too, of course. I think I'm a better writer than these guys. And we would sit together and talk about how better writers we are than everyone else, and complain that we didn't get our fair share of acknowledgement and recognition. I find a lot of this need to be superior in Germany in general too. I guess it's in America too, but I'm here and I'm always running into people who. A second sentence is like some kind of, condescending remark about how terrible America is, And I think it's almost part of the, it's the anti-Americanism is so strong in Germany. I think it's probably part of the German character since, the war, the shame of the Second World War, which, really hurts them. They hate it. They feel so horrible about it that they have to pretend to be superior to everyone else in every other way. They have more culture, they're more intelligent, they do everything right, vote for someone like Trump or, whatever. And so there's a flight into superiority. It's like the last refuge for the failures, for the frustrated. And Claus and I were both like that. And he grasped onto this somehow, some need to feel superior to everyone else or to anything really. And so he grasped onto the corona thing, and he said, I'm going to feel superior to this. I know more than the doctors, and these guys don't know anything, and they're all idiots. And then he would also say things like, I'm not afraid. If I die, I die. I'm ready to go. He's 9 years older than I am. So he was 69. And he said, I'm ready to go. I don't care. And maybe he didn't really. Maybe he didn't. His ex-wife said that night, the last night, he said he wanted to go and he didn't care. And he was exhausted. And she said also, maybe he wanted this. Maybe it's better this way. Maybe he's through. He's finished. And in our discussions, too, he often said, "It's over. My life is over. I'm fine. It's done. Abgeschlossen," he said in German. I've finished up. I've closed up. I've closed the book. We would talk a lot about writing and about looking for that great book that evaded us all this time that we didn't write. The book also that would make us great, because that's what writers do, right? That's what we all want to do. All writers want this. Maybe there are writers who claim that they're modest. They don't want to, but they want to write the great book. They want to be, they want to be like the writers they admire. They want to be Nabokov, and they want to be Mark Twain, or Thomas Mann, or Günter Grass, or whoever it is they admire. They want to be these guys, and they don't want to be some guy who is unknown. No one says, oh, here's a writer. No one knows who he is. He's my idol. I want to be like him. No one says that. And we talked a lot about not getting there, not getting on that level of fame of the writers that we admire, because we are honest about it. Claus and I admired a lot of the same writers. A lot of them were the writers, the big American writers of the 50s and 60s and 70s. From Norman Mailer to all that generation. This great generation of writers. Even James Michener. All these guys. And we talked about it, and I said, I'm not giving up. I have a chance to do one great book before I die, and I want to do it. If I can do it, I want to do it. And he would say, no, it's not going to happen for me. Sometimes he would say, yeah, maybe one great book is in me. But then he would go back, and the general vibe was, no, it's finished. And so maybe when he was laying in that hospital with that mask, or whatever it is, I think it's a mask that you have, the breathing, artificial breathing, or the breathing support. His wife said he took off the mask that night and went to sleep. And I guess the doctors couldn't convince him that he had a chance. And I guess that was it. I'm not sure. I don't have the details. But that's what happened. And he had to pick this battle, with Corona. It's if you want to feel superior to something, why feel superior to Corona? Why not feel superior to the bus driver? And, I don't know, kick a homeless guy or something, anything, a dog. I mean, but he picked the fight he couldn't win. I don't know if he knew that he was doing it or wanted to do it or not, or some. I mean, it's not. I don't believe in this kind of thing. Like we all have a secret death wish. Well, maybe we do. I don't know, but so I don't know what happened, but he's dead. He's gone. He was my friend. I loved him. We had such a weird relationship, We loved and hated each other, I think. I looked forward to going out drinking with him. It was every Saturday night. He had no one else here in Berlin, or a few people. I mean, he did have people. He did go regularly and drink with other people. So, and but we would do it just about every week, every Thursday, and then we switched over to Saturdays, and we would meet in the bar around the corner here, and we would drink and talk, and we would pity ourselves because our lives didn't turn out the way we wanted to. We would make plans, and we would be arrogant and self-aggrandizing, and we would be cynical. And that's why I liked him, because we both are basically cynical, dark characters. We basically do not really like life. We don't really like ourselves. We don't really like people. We don't really like life. That's kind of the people who we are, and I struggle to change that, to like life, to get something out of life. I want to get something out of life. I want to be happy. And so I struggle and try. But with Claus, I didn't have to do that. I could just let it all hang out. Just let all the bullshit hang out. Just the depression, I guess, too. I could be self-obsessed, self-pitying, and depressed. And we both were. I assume that he was also a little bit depressed. Maybe not. Maybe he wasn't. But I sure was. And am. And we would just let it hang out. We would complain and gripe, and we would do it with a sense of irony. We would make fun of ourselves about it all the time. And it was refreshing, because we could be honest. We could show our true natures. We could be honest about our lives. And we saw our lives more or less honestly, more or less the way they were. And it was okay. We could do that. We don't have to put on a show. We didn't have to argue. No one was there to say, "Oh no, Eric. Oh no, Claus. No, everything's fine. Everything is." We could say what we thought and felt without someone constantly contradicting us. And it was so refreshing and liberating. And we could be macho and talk about women ruining our lives, and we could be anti-PC. He hated political correctness like I did. It's so fake and so pretentious, and it's just, and these people are fake. All this high ground leftist political correctness. These are the same guys who voted, who went with the trend in Germany in 1933. They're all little Nazis. The trend is the left now. Okay, the trend is political correctness and the left, and and apologizing because you're white. Okay, so that's the trend. But if the trend were killing Jews, they would go with that too, because they're going with the trend, because that's all it is. It's a trend, and it's filthy and dishonest and hypocritical and ugly. And we both saw it like that, and we both hated these people. And he was a little more conservative than I would. I at one point he said he would have voted for Trump. I would not do that. I'm more slightly to the left, but he had the freedom to say what he liked. He admired certain things about Trump, certain things about conservatives, and so do I. Trump did a lot of good things, frankly. It was still an embarrassment to me, and it was a bad president, but there were some things that he did that I thought were positive, and a lot of things that the left side does that are just it's just for politics. It's just to get people, rallying around the Democrat flag, and it's not real, and it's not good, and it's dishonest and hypocritical, and I dislike it. And we could talk honestly about that. He said once, this is really nice to just be able to sit and talk and not have to worry about someone judging you. We didn't judge each other. Well, we probably did, of course. And it was depressing because there were some things about him that were really very negative. A lot of the things that I was doing and liked doing and had plans for, he disparaged and disliked. He hated everything that was new, like the internet, and I like the internet. I like social media. I'm doing this podcast, and he would make fun of that. He would definitely, he didn't know I was doing it, but he would have made fun of it. And he made fun of everything else I was doing, basically. And that lack of support, it really hurt me. And I often went home. Almost every time I went home, half of me was depressed and sad and hated him for it. But the other half was so happy that I could have someone and just talk honestly. And I never told him to shut up, and that I expected more from a friend, because I wanted him to be honest. I wanted him to talk what he wanted to say. And I could complain about him, insult him, and he insulted me all the time, and I would insult him back. We would insult each other, and we made a game out of it, and it was like an ironic, fun game, and we would laugh because the insults were fairly witty. Of course, the alcohol maybe exaggerated our sense of wittiness, which wasn't as witty as we thought it was, but I loved him for that. There's this sociologists talk about happiness and how to find happiness. And they say a lot of happiness, is genetics or society or something like that. Like 60% of whether you're happy or not, or generally happy or off or content or often happy, has to do with circumstances that you cannot control, or you can only control. Maybe you can take a pill, but other than that, you cannot control these circumstances. But 40%, they say, you can control. 40% of being happy comes from inherently happy activities, doing something that makes you inherently happy. So it's inherent activities are defined as something that you do for the sake of doing it, that you like doing. So you go to a movie because you like going to a movie. Other things, like you work hard so you can get money so you can go to the movie. You don't work hard because you like working hard, because that's not an inherent activity. You go to the movie because you like going to the movie. You work hard to get something else. But inherent activities are what makes you happy. And that was an inherent activity. I liked going there. I liked indulging myself. I liked letting the bad, flawed part of myself, come out. I liked making fun of myself and the world and him. I liked the wit of the conversations. I liked his taste in movies and books, and I like talking about writing. I'm surrounded by writers. I know a lot of writers, but we don't talk about writing. With Claus, I talked about writing. It was beautiful. I loved it, and I'm gonna miss that, and I cannot do it anymore. I have, I guess 3 or 4 friends, and I like them. I like hanging out with them, but it's not as intense, and I'm not me as much as I was with Claus, because he was a writer, and I'm a writer with heart and soul. That's what we are. That's what we do. And that's what he was. Absolutely. He was a monothematic. He was like me. He wasn't interested in almost anything else. It was just the writing he was interested in. At least that's the Claus I knew. I loved him. He left me. I found yesterday, when I sat here, drank a whiskey and thought about it. I found that I'm not actually mad at him. I thought I would be, but I'm not. He can go. It's okay. And looking at what happens after he goes, what he leaves behind. I mean, he wrote a lot of books. Some of which were successful. Some, So he left those behind, but they're not classics. They once they go out of print, they will stay out of print. They're not the classics that he wanted to write. And that's going to be like me too, of course. I'm going to go, and then I will just be forgotten very, very quickly. I'm not going to leave much of a splash here. I'm not going to leave much of a hole. Claus is leaving a hole in my life. I cannot replace him. I cannot. There's no friend of that nature anymore, and I will not find another. But the world will not notice. And I realize that if that's all it is, then, if that's just, you die, you live, you struggle, and then you die, and that's it, then the whole point of life is enjoying it, or doing what you want to do, or being the person you want to be. Even if it's self-indulgent, even if you are really a horrible person. And I'm not a great, wonderful person. I'm pretty horrible in a lot of ways, I'm sure. I am. I mean, thinking myself drinking in that bar with Claus, I'm a pretty horrible person. But I enjoy it. I enjoy being who I am. And I find that much of my life, I try to be what I'm supposed to be or want to be, but not who I am. And maybe I even am not meant to be happy. Maybe I should not be happy. Maybe I don't like being happy. Maybe I should just enjoy my being unhappy. I don't know if that's possible. Just enjoy being unhappy. Just enjoy being cynical and dark and self-possessed and arrogant and depressed. Maybe I should just enjoy that more. Stop questioning if what I'm doing is right and how I'm living is right, and just enjoy it. Stop trying to achieve something that I probably cannot achieve, and just enjoy whatever it is I'm doing. I'm not sure I know how. I'm not sure I've ever learned how. I'm afraid that my life will be more superficial now that he's gone. That the part of me, the dark part of me, will be closed off. I won't have an outlet for it anymore. He was the outlet for the dark part of me. And so without that, I'm living more on the surface of who I am. I don't know how much of me I can be without Claus. I'm going to miss those Saturday nights. I'm going to miss those Saturday nights. Well, Claus, You decided to go, you threatened to go, and you made good on your threat. I could have had another 10 years of you. I could have taken another 10 years of hanging around with you, Claus. I would have liked it. I didn't want you to go. I loved our Saturday nights. I wish it could go on. I'm sorry life wasn't enough to hold you. So it's goodbye. I love you. I always will. Have a good journey. And if you ever find a good bar, save a place for me. That's it, folks. And thanks for listening. Tune in again next week or tomorrow or whenever it is I do this again. Whatever, I don't know. If you're interested in the things that are really important to me, I write them in books and I put them on videos. Check out my books on Amazon.com or my YouTube channel or my Twitter and Facebook feeds or subscribe to my newsletter. It's kind of a lot now that I say it like that. Or any of the above, whatever. I hope I can contribute something to your life or to someone's life, anyone's life really, in some way. I appreciate your support and I wish you all the luck and success and happiness and fulfillment in your life. Take care till next time.